Good morning. I appreciate you tuning in and watching again this morning. We've been looking into the life of Jesus, and today as we looked at yesterday at when Jesus called his disciples. You know, there was something that I left out that I want to just reiterate this morning. Is whenever his disciples were talking to him in Matthew, and he was letting his disciples know that there was no place for him to lay his head down. When you follow Jesus, the journey is going to be it's going to have to be out of faith. You're going to have to just trust in him, and he will provide for the things that you stand in need of. And he let them know, I don't have a place to lay my head. You know, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of God has no man to lay his head down. And that's just saying that, you know, we have to have faith. We have to be willing to go out on a limb and enjoy the journey and get ready to for the unknown. That's the exciting part of serving Jesus, is the unknown, that he's willing to provide, he's willing to take care of you, but it's just, you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to trust Jesus and to let him take you where he may. You know, looking at the life of Jesus gives me comfort. Looking at the life of Jesus gives me encouragement. And, you know, he called his disciples, and he's telling his disciples, just trust in me, trust. And we're going to, you know, just like he told Abraham to leave his home and to go and to journey, and I'll tell you when to stop. And today, as we're going to look at another part of Jesus' life, after that he had called Peter and healed Peter's mother-in-law, you know, and he's setting up his disciples here, and we look at Mark chapter 2 when he's preaching, he's teaching, and he's healing. And one of the events that took place there in Jesus' life, whenever he was preparing to go out into his full ministry, there is he was healing people. And one of the instances that we're going to look at today was a moment when that Jesus was healed a crippled man. And I love this story because this story of this event, and we're going to look at it's several different places, but today we're going to look at Mark chapter 2. Starting with verse 1. And again he entered into Capernaum after those days, and it was noised that he was in the house, and straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. So he preached the word unto them, and they came to him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4. He had 4 friends that were carrying him. And they could not come nigh to the house because there were so many people around him. They uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken it up, they let him down on the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said unto them, and to the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee. But there be certain of the scribes sitting there, and reasoning in their hearts, Why does this man thus speak blasphemy? Who can forgive sins but God only? And immediately Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves. And he said unto them, Why reason these things in your heart? Whether it is easier to say to the sick of the palsy, Thy sins be forgiven, or to say, Arise and take up thy bed and walk. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins. And he saith unto the sick of the palsy, I say unto thee, Arise, take up thy bed, and go thy way into thine house. And immediately he rose and took up his bed, and went forth before all them, insomuch that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, Where we never saw it on this fashion. Now this was reading Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And we see here that this is the event where 4 people brought their friend to Jesus. They got to the house, it was full. They couldn't get to Jesus. So they had this, you know, this never quit mentality. They had this drive to get their friend to Jesus. Now, I wish we had a drive like that to get our lost loved ones to Jesus. They weren't willing to quit just because the house was full. They were around the windows and the doors. Nobody could get in. So they saw another way. But they didn't. They were getting to Jesus though. They weren't trying to find another way to get to God. They were finding a way to get to Jesus. And that's what we must do. Is if you're here and you're listening to me today, and you've sought after Jesus before, and you haven't received that peace, you haven't received that forgiveness, don't quit. Don't quit. And if you have a loved one that's lost and separated from God, or is going through a hard time right now, that seems to be being pulled away from God's truth to the world, don't quit. Don't give up today. These four brothers, these four people carried their friend to Jesus, and the house was full. They had to carry their friend up on the roof. So first they had to figure out a way to get up there. Now I don't know how these houses were built. They may have had steps, they may have had ladders, but you think about, they're carrying this man on a litter, a stretcher, and they had to get this man up on the roof. That took effort. That took a lot of sweat and effort to get him up there. And then they got him up there, and there was no hole in the roof. Well, they could have got to the house and quit when they seen all the people around Jesus, but they didn't. And you could see they got the man up on the roof. Well, there's no hole, so we're just going to quit. Well, in one part of the scriptures, it says that they broke the tiles, so they had to find something to either lift off whatever that roof was made of, bust a hole in it. Then they had to find a rope to let him down in. All these things that most people would look at and be like, well, this is just no hope for me. I can't get my friend to Jesus. We've got to find all these things. We've got to get him up on the roof. We've got to find a rope to let him down in. We've got to bust this hole in the tiles. It's not worth it. But they didn't see that. They saw a need for their friend to find Jesus. They were willing to go to whatever lengths it took to get their friend to Jesus. That's what you must do today. It's whatever you must do to get your loved one, to get your family, to get the one that is in need of Jesus, to get them to Jesus. You must go to whatever length it takes to make sure they know the truth, that they have that personal experience with Jesus between them and God and nobody else. You don't need a preacher. You don't need all these things that they say you've got to do. You just need to go to Jesus and pray to Him and seek after Him. Because you keep pointing them to Jesus. You keep pointing them to Jesus. Don't try to complicate things. The world's going to do that enough. And look, in this very evident event right here, it was difficult enough with the things of the world that was before the four people that brought this lame man to Jesus. They were outside. There was people all around. They had to get him up on the roof. They had to break the roof. They had to find a rope to let him down in. That took a lot of effort. That took a lot of faith. And I'm thankful today that we have this evidence of Jesus' life here, showing us what will happen if we just keep striving and keep pushing forward and not giving up and taking our loved ones to Jesus, finding a way to get them to Jesus. Now, when they lowered him down in, see, there had to be an effort on that lame man's too. He could have said when he got to the house, just quit, just stop. Don't put forth too much effort. Just don't worry about me. I'm not worth it. But let me tell you, that's what Satan's going to do. He's going to try to tell you you're not worth it. You're going to try to tell you, he's going to say, well, it's just too much. Why are you wasting all your time? And that's where the four people carrying him came in. No, we're not going to give up. No, we're not going to stop. No, we're not going to quit just because we're on the roof and there's no hole. No, we're not going to quit because we got this hole busted and there's no rope. We're going to find something to open that roof up. We're going to find something to let him down in. We're going to find a way to get our loved ones to Jesus. And that's what we must do. And that's what they did. When they lowered him down to Jesus, there was some scribes and Pharisees there that was watching, because Jesus was stirring up a lot of stuff right now in the Capernaum here. And he was he was healing, he was teaching, but he wasn't yet letting everybody know exactly who he was. But he was just starting out his ministry here. And as we see that when we start telling people about Jesus, we've lived a certain life, and that certain life has had consequences. So, people are going to second guess you. You might be freshly saved or recently saved, and you are you've been living out in the world and lived a certain life, and now that you want to start living for Jesus and you go out and you start trying to do things that are different, it's going to raise some stink. People are going to be like, look, this dude ain't for real, man. We've seen this guy we've seen this guy do this and that and whatever it is that you've had to struggle with, and they're going to be like, he ain't real. This guy, this guy's done these things before, and he keeps going right back. But I'm telling you, when you meet Jesus, truly meet Jesus, just as this lame man did here, he'll forgive your sins. He'll change your want tos. He'll change you from the inside first, and then he starts working on the outside. I haven't always lived a perfect life. I've had a lot of issues and habit addictions and things of this nature, but Jesus took those things away from me. And not only did he take them away from me, it's taken time for me to get out of that mentality, to turn off the things of this world. And it's going to take time for you. It's going to take time that we got to put forth a little effort. And this man here got changed real quick. He was lame, he was leopard, he couldn't walk. And he said, after he had forgave him of his sins, and the scribes and Pharisees, they had blown their mind. It had shocked them. They didn't understand this. They were calling it blasphemy. Who is this man? So he starts putting forth questions to them. And after that he had done these things, he said, get up and walk. And the lame man, he got up and walked. He picked up his own bed and carried it out. How amazing is that? In a lot of ways, I feel the same way, that I'm taking up my past life and I'm carrying it with me, not carrying it with me because it's hindering me, it's not slowing me down, but I'm able to use my past experiences to show the world that there's something better out there. That's what you can do. That's what this man did. He was carrying his past life with him, saying, look at what Jesus did for me. That bed represented so much more than just what he laid on. That's what he was. He was hindered. He was tied to that bed because he couldn't walk. People had to carry him around. He was a burden on society, but not anymore. Not when he met Jesus. That's why it's so important that we keep carrying our loved ones to Jesus, because they can take up that past life. They can carry it with them, saying, yeah, that was me, but not anymore. Because let me tell you about this man named Jesus and what he did for me. Today, if you've got that, you've got that bed, you've got that example and experiences, take them and let the world know what Jesus has done for you. Don't be ashamed of that's, God, because I'm not proud of my past, but it is my past. I have to own it, because I'm not going to get any better. I'm not going to be able to help anybody unless I pick it up and carry it with me and say, this was me, and now this is me. And I have been saved. I have been cleansed. I have been washed by the Spirit of God. Jesus lives within inside of me. Now I have something inside of me that's stronger than anything in my past. And you can have the same strength. You can have the same things in your life. But you got to trust in Him. You got to put Him first. And no matter what obstacle is before you, if you're lost, you keep seeking Jesus. You know what you can do? You can also do this. Ask people that you know, that truly know Jesus. Ask them to pray with you. Ask them to help you find Jesus. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's your prayer that God's listening for. It is your prayer, because I'm going to tell you, I have a heart for the lost. But I can't pray that prayer for you. I couldn't pray that prayer earnestly enough and with so much passion that it would help you. Because God wants to hear from you, not me. Now, I can pray that God would protect you and take the things of this world, the obstacles that are in your life, that He would help remove those obstacles so that you could pray with more earnest heart. I can do that, and I will do that, and I do that. But I also know that God had to hear my prayer as a 7-year-old boy. Because he heard Jesus. That's one thing we have an example in here I talked about yesterday, is that Jesus went to a solitary place and prayed. Well, there's many different examples where Jesus went to a solitary place and prayed. He didn't have His disciples pray for Him and for what He needed. He went to God and prayed for Himself. That we're going to see here in a few minutes that, or in these lessons as we go on, that Jesus tells His disciples that what you're trying to do only comes through prayer and fasting. And that's between that disciple and God. And that what you're dealing with today is between you and God. Once those 4 people lowered that lame man down into the room there where Jesus was, it was between them and between that lame man and Jesus. Then the ones up on the roof had done their work. They had lowered him down. They had removed all the obstacles. They quit listening to this lame man. Just human nature. I can only imagine. There's his hope inside, but there's all these things that are in the way, and he's probably telling them just give up, just quit. But they didn't. They kept going, and it was by their faith, the getting them to Jesus, that influenced this lame man when he got down in there. Because when that lame man got down inside that room with Jesus, Jesus saw his heart. He knew that there was that the faith of his 4 brothers, the 4 men that lowered him down in there, strengthened him and helped him to understand that this man in front of him was his only hope. I hope and pray that these things that I've said to you today, or the things that you might say to somebody, will help them see that the only hope that they have is through Jesus. That's the only way to have true healing, is through Jesus. This is just another event in Jesus' life where that he had healed that lame man. And he was setting up his ministry and he's already preaching, he's already teaching, but he hasn't truly let them know to the full extent of who he was, what he's fixing to. In the next few days, as we look at more things in the life of Jesus, and how he sets forth his disciples and he travels to Jerusalem and talks to Nicodemus. We got the Sermon on the Mount that we looked at, and if you go to Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount was before he called his disciples. We're just going to throw it in here as the Lord leads us in the next few days. But I can tell you, I'm thankful today that I didn't let those obstacles hinder me when I found Jesus. I'm thankful that today, even after I met Jesus, when those obstacles got a hold of me, that he was able to take them away from me. You may have been saved years ago and be living in a life that's not godly. But Jesus can take those obstacles away from you. And you can find that joy of your salvation again. You can find that life that you're striving for, that you want. And you're tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired. Jesus is the answer. I'm so thankful. I'm thankful today that I serve a God that is loving and merciful and long-suffering. He is long-suffering, waiting for us to ask forgiveness, waiting for us to come back around. If he's dealing with you today, find that quiet place and pray. Because you'll not find any answer in this world that'll be any better than Jesus. I love you and praying for you. I look forward to tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.